And what's up, everybody? I'm back with another video game review, and today I am reviewing Star Wars Episode 3 Revenge of the Sith. Yes, not the movie, the game, the GBA game released. I don't know when it was released, but it was released on the GBA, I think other systems too. But I played it on the GBA backwards compatibility with the DS Lite, on my DS Lite. And thank you, as always, to Jeffofthemellows for letting me borrow this game, giving me the chance to play it. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. So with that out of the way, this is not a great game. It is... Yeah, it's not, you gotta remember, I'm not a huge Star Wars fan. So you gotta know that going in. But you gotta give it a chance. This is just like a beat 'em up, side of game. You just run along, defeating amounts of enemies. How bad could it really be? Let's jump into it. So the graphics are very cartoony in my opinion, but obviously it's on the GBA, it's from a while ago, it's not going to be super realistic, and in my opinion, it still very well resembles the movies, so it's not like a huge deal, but it's something that I just noticed. One thing that's really weird in my opinion is like the axes that this game runs on. It's a 2D like beat 'em up, go along the direct path, defeating enemies, and then you get through the level and it's done. But there's a certain level of depth in the levels too, where you can go to the back of the level or to the front of the level. And so with that, and also just not great shadow looks, it's just very difficult to line up your shot. Most times I thought I was online with the shot, with my lightsaber or whatever, but then it turns out that I missed, and then they can hit me back, and in contrary, it's hard to see when they're going to hit you, and so you just gotta worry about that too. And so that's just a weird little thing. It's cool to be able to move side to side in the levels, and it definitely adds a little bit more complexity into the game, a little bit more strategy, and also a little bit more elusiveness to go, especially with the collectibles and stuff in the game. You can go a lot of places with those. It's just very, very, very weird, and it's just not done great, in my opinion. The sounds of this game are about what you would expect from a cheaper Star Wars game on the Game Boy Advance. Not great. Very raspy, and just not very pleasant to listen to. I played this game almost exclusively muted for that reason. Sounds of the game never really take away from the experience for me, since I can always just play it muted, and it doesn't really affect my experience. But when they're bad like this, you gotta touch on them a little bit. When they're great, you gotta touch on them too. But when they're bad like this, yeah, you gotta touch on them, especially for Star Wars, One thing I do like about this game, though, is the different perspectives. You can be Anakin Skywalker, or you can be Obi-Wan Kenobi. And so I think that's pretty cool that you can go, and they each have their own unique pathways to take for the game. And that's cool. That's another thing that really well resembles the movies, and I really, really like that. So that's a nice little touch, and I'm glad they did that, because just having one character would just not add a lot of variety to the game. So I'm glad that they added two. So I like that. And then just overall, it's a short game review, because this is just a very short game. But the gameplay overall just gets very repetitive. It's a very simple objective. You just go to the end of the level and beat up droids, or beat up ships, or get collectibles, break stuff, and move on. It's not anything too crazy. And it's not a long game, so it's not super hard to get into. But it's just a very simple objective, and it's very, very just repetitive at the end of the day. It got very, very, very monotone for me very quickly. And part of that is because, again, I'm not a huge Star Wars fan. if you are a Star Wars fan, you probably will actually enjoy this game a fair amount, especially if you have nostalgia playing it as a kid, or again, just a big Star Wars fan. So and then a lot of people in that sense will rank this higher as one of their more favorite Star Wars games on the GBA. But having only played 2, it's definitely the better one of the 2, but not by much at all. So, but that's really all I had. Again, not a lot of notes, but not a lot to really see in this game either, for sure. But my final score for Star Wars Episode 3, Revenge of the Sith, I'm probably going to have to give this one a good, I'm going to give 6 out of 10. Not great, but not horrible either. It's definitely passable, especially for a kid, especially for Star Wars fans too. I think they'll like it, so if you're one of those two, I recommend picking it up. So I was going to do with this game review and this video. If you've ever played this game, I'd love to know your thoughts about it in the comment section down below. And until next time, see you guys later. Goodbye.